everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome back to the My Favorite Things YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be playing around with the X's and O's card kit. This is the August kit and it has a lot of great elements in it to create different tic-tac-toe themed cards. So there is acrylic pieces that have the boards and the X's and O's. There is stamps and there is dies. And at first glance, it kind of seems love themed, but I wanted to share some party favors that I created with this kit that are perfect for any type of occasion. So we're going to kind of create a Halloween themed one throughout the video, and then I'll show you a couple more examples at the end. So to start off, I cut down some pieces of cardstock and pattern paper, so I showed those there on screen, and I'm also going to be using the X's and O's stamp set and the Which Way is the Candy stamp set. I have the acrylic pieces, which includes the tic-tac-toe board and the X's and O's. I'm not going to be using the X's and O's in this project, but you can definitely use those if you would prefer rather than the candy. But I chose to use these candies in mine, so I have these Reese's Pieces, and I just took out the brown and the orange, and I created a little baggie with 6 of each of those colors. And I'll show you a little bit later how we're going to add that to the project. So to start off, I have my piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to do some stamping on this, and I'm going to allow the space for the tic-tac-toe board. Now, if you don't want the dimension of the acrylic board, you can definitely use the stamp set and stamp the tic-tac-toe board right onto the cardstock, or you can use the tic-tac-toe dynamics, which also comes in the card kit, and cut your board from some cardstock. Now for my stamping on this white panel, I'm going to be stamping Halloween tic-tac-toe. So I'm going to use the Halloween sentiment from Which Way is the Candy, and then the tic-tac-toe we're going to stamp after because we're going to do a little bit of masking on that stamp. So what I've done is I've positioned my Halloween, and that bat is also from Which Way is the Candy, and I'm going to stamp both of these together onto this white panel. And I'm using my Mini Misty stamping tool to do the stamping so that I can easily stamp out the images and the sentiment and then just keep adding new pieces of that white cardstock so I can continuously stamp a bunch of these at once. This works really well for any type of project like this where it's a party favor or a Halloween treat or something that you're going to be making in mass quantities. Having everything kind of set up in your stamping tool and allowing you to keep stamping over and over really speeds up the process and helps to get your projects done a lot quicker. So I just went ahead and stamped out 5 of these, and you can see now I have the Halloween stamped up at the top and then I have the bat down at the bottom. So to finish it off, I want to add tic-tac-toe right in between the Halloween word and the bat. Now these words are part of a stamp from the X's and O's card kit, but this stamp actually has a lot more words in it, and I only want to stamp out the tic-tac-toe. So I'm taking some washi tape and I'm completely covering this entire stamp except for the area that says tic-tac-toe. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow me to quickly and easily add my ink to the words there. And then I can just peel up that washi tape and then I can stamp this. And what's going to happen is I'm only going to be able to stamp out the tic-tac-toe portion because none of the rest of the stamp has any ink on it. So now you can see here, once I lift that off there, I have this really great title on this little card that we've created that says Halloween tic-tac-toe. And I was able to use that stamp even though I didn't want to use the entire sentiment. Once I finished with all the word stamping, I also stamped some clouds onto each of the panels, and these are the 2 clouds that are also in Which Way is the Candy, and I just stamped out 3 of those just to give the card a little bit something more. I thought it looked a little bit too plain with the stamping that I had done. And now I'm just taking some Copic markers and I'm going to add color to each of these little panels. So I'm using some very light aqua to add color to the clouds. Usually clouds are white, but I decided to add a little bit of aqua to this just to bring in a little bit more color. I felt like when I was going to be done with this, it was going to be a lot of black, grays, and oranges, and I just felt like we needed a little bit more color brought in somewhere. So I thought the aqua worked really well. I used that on the clouds, and I also used it a little bit around each bat just to kind of make them stand out, and I'm also going to use it around their eyes. And then for the main body of the bat, I'm using 3 shades of gray Copic marker, and I'm just starting off by coloring the bat completely with the lightest color. And then I'm going in with my darkest and my medium and kind of blending from the bottom up. So he's kind of a little bit darker at the bottom and then his color lightens as we work our way up. And then for his ears, I thought it would be fun to use orange inside of his ears rather than like a pink. I just thought it would look really fun with the pattern papers that we're going to be using and really tie in that orange color. So now you can see here I have all of them completely colored and they are ready to assemble into little favor cards. So I am going to adhere first the white cardstock panel onto my colored cardstock. So for any of the ones that have black and white pattern paper, I'm using a orange cardstock mat. And for any of the orange and white pattern papers, I'm using a black cardstock mat. And I decided for these ones that I wanted to use the acrylic boards versus just stamping it on. I really liked the dimension of having that board and thought it worked really well with the candy that we're going to include with the game. So I just used some matte multi-medium and added a few dots onto the back of each of the acrylic boards, and then I just adhered them down onto the cardstock, and they adhere no problem and stay perfectly on there. So now it's time to turn this into an actual little treat bag. So what I have is a little card bag here. This is a plastic bag that's meant to hold a finished card, so a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card, and I'm going to use it to create our little treat bag. So I have very small bags that I use to put the candy in, so that's separately in there, so it's completely its own bag, and I'm tucking that in behind the cardstock panel that we've put into the larger bag here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it over and adhere it down with the adhesive that's already on the bag. Since it is a little bit too long, I did trim off the top, and then once I have that done and I fold it over, I just take my fingernail down across the top of the acrylic bag, and that really helps to score it and keep everything really folded nicely. So now I have this really fun Halloween favor where I have this fun tic-tac-toe board with all this dimension, and I have these candies tucked in behind for the recipient to actually be able to play the game and have a fun Halloween treat. So just a really fun way to use this kit to create something completely different than a love theme card. Now, in addition to Halloween, I also created 2 other ones that I wanted to share here. So first up, I have this one, which is meant to be a birthday party favor. And what I did on this one is I stamped the tic-tac-toe board instead of using the acrylic piece, and I added a dragon from the Magic Dragon stamp set. On the back, I stamped the "You Are Tic-Tac Totally Awesome," and I included some Skittles in the same colors as the card for the recipient to play the game. I also created a holiday-themed one for a child to give to his friends or her friends at school. And for this one, I repeated the same process as the birthday one. I stamped the board and added a little elf from the Santa's Elf stamp set. And then I also stamped "A Treat to You From" on the back. And I thought that would be really cute for a kid to be able to sign their name on the back. And I included some Skittles in this one as well in some holiday colors. So these are just a few ways that you can use the X's and O's card kit to create some really fun favors for all different sorts of occasions at all different times of the year. It's a lot of fun to kind of come up with different ways to use all of the elements, and I just wanted to share this one with you today. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video, and I will see you in the next one.